So first off, if you can't already hear it, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so my voice is a little bit nasally. So I'm sorry about that. Please bear with me. But as always, if you would like to skip straight to the ranking, you can skip to this timestamp right here. I would recommend you stick around because I'm going to be doing this video kind of how I did my one when I was rating the survival instincts of Sinner's characters, except I have kind of changed my rules to more so fit the universe of It Welcome to Derry. But again, if you don't want to stick around and you just like to go straight to the ranking, you can go here. Anyways, hi everyone. I hope you've had a good week. Let's get straight into the rules and parameters. Again, they're similar to the ones I said in my Sinners video, but I've taken away one of the categories, that being the initial no, because unlike most horror movies, the people who are evading the danger, that being the villain Pennywise, are kids, and there isn't just simply one situation that each of these kids have to go through. There's actually multiple times throughout the entire series that these kids have to escape Pennywise, so I just thought it'd be best to take out the initial no category. But other than that, I have kept the same categories but changed them around a little bit again to fit It Welcome to Derry. So getting into our first category, which is still the red flag category. This category is basically, what did you do with the red flags presented in front of you? Did you see them, recognize them, and get yourself out of danger? Or did you not recognize them and continue to go forward and inevitably meet some sort of misfortune along the way? And because there's multiple times throughout this series that these kids come across red flags when it comes to Pennywise, trust and believe that will be kept in mind when we talk about each character in that category. Next up, we have escape plan. While in the past with other movies, I've just had one escape plan to talk about, in this series, each of the kids most oftentimes escape Pennywise once by themselves and then multiple times when they are together in a group. So instead of just ranking these kids on the one time they've had to escape danger, I'm going to be ranking them on the multiple times they've had to escape Pennywise, as well as factoring in how well they did within escaping Pennywise, because spoiler alert, in some cases some kids unfortunately did not escape. And lastly, we have wits, and that is, what techniques, what smarts that you have did you use to help you escape Pennywise? So those are just the three categories that we are going to be ranking these kids on. In each category, they can get anywhere between 10 points to 0 points. I would also like to say, because we are talking about kids, I am going to be giving them a bit of grace. I'm not going to be as harsh, because I know for a fact if I was a kid having to grow up in Derry, Pennywise would have more than likely gotten me, because I was truly a scaredy cat when I was a kid, which is honestly funny to think about because now I have yet to find a horror movie that can scare me, but back in the day, I couldn't even look at a picture of Chucky. And on top of that, I would just like to say I kept out one kid, that being Susie, because I just thought it'd be unfair to rank her, seeing as I believe she was only about 5 years old, and also the only reason she was in the situation she was in is because she was being babysat by her brother. She didn't necessarily have a choice, unlike the other kids who had more free will within the situations that they were in. Lastly, this is your spoiler warning. I will not be going into great detail on the storyline of It Welcome to Derry, but I will be using plot points to justify as to why I give each kid a score in each category. So if you have not seen the show or it's been a while, I recommend you go and watch it. I literally rewatched most of the series a day ago. But other than that, let's get into the ranking. The first kid we have on our list is Maddie, and I kind of did this on purpose. You'll notice a trend in how I listed the kids on here. I thought it'd be easier to get the kids we see the least in the series out of the way before we get to the ones we see the most. So first off, starting with Maddie's red flag category, to be honest, I wouldn't say Maddie had that many red flags that he ignored initially, and I feel as though majority of the red flags he faced came once he entered the car. But if you ask me, I believe once he entered the car, it was already too late for him. He was not going to be able to leave the car. So at that point, even though he noticed red flags within the car, I think, like I said, the minute he got in, Pennywise would have not allowed him to escape. But I will say, even though hitchhiking was more of an acceptable thing back in the day than it is now, if an entire family is willing to pull over and let you in when you're that young and not ask you where your parents are or where you're going going if you're okay and show that type of concern, I feel like that within itself is a big red flag. So though he couldn't escape once he got into the car, I will be taking some points off for the fact that he got into the car in the first place without being even a little bit suspicious. So in his red flag category, I think I'm going to give him a 5. Next up, when it comes to his escape plan, like I said, I don't believe once he got in the car he would have been able to escape, but I will be taking points off for the fact that he did not even try to escape until he saw multiple red flags within the car. And even at that point, he really only tried to take the steering wheel out of the dad's hand, and after that, he did not try to escape again. And I know it may seem like I'm sounding harsh, but if I'm comparing him to someone like Ronnie, who also had to face Pennywise and the actions she took to escape Pennywise versus the actions that Maddie took when it came to escaping Pennywise, she definitely fought a lot harder to escape than he did. So I believe I am going to have to give him a 3. Next up, we have his wit category. And to be honest, I'm going to have to give him a low score in wits as well. I'm not factoring in him not escaping Pennywise into this, but what I will say is that step by step throughout the process leading up to his final demise, comparing him to some of the other kids we have on this list, he was just a bit more docile in his response to the dangers in front of him. So for that, I am also going to give him a 3. Next up, we have Phil. When it comes to the red flags, most of the red flags that Phil experiences are in the theater. At most, he's heard whispering in the theater, but he doesn't get a direct attack from Pennywise like some of the other characters on this list. So if we are just focusing on the red flags he came across in the theater, right away I feel like the fact that he saw Maddie on the theater screen in a movie that he's not originally in should have been a dead giveaway that something was completely and entirely wrong. And I will also be bringing up this fact again 2 more times for 2 different characters, but truthfully, that right away should have been a complete blaringly in your face red flag to Phil, especially when you remember that at this point Maddie has been missing for 4 months. But instead of taking this as a red flag, him and other people in the theater start just like trying to get Maddie's attention as if they were just shouting to a friend across the hall. So honestly, for the red flag category, I'm going to give Phil a 3. Next up, we have escape plan. Now, to be honest, because Phil and the other characters in this scene completely ignore the blaring red flag in front of them, they do not in fact give themselves a lot of time to escape. If they had seen Maddie on the screen and then decided at that moment in time to run, they would have had more time. But since they didn't react until the flying baby came out of the screen, I will give him some points for making an effort to run. But inevitably, as we see in the TV show, this was very much not effective, and ultimately Phil, like 2 other characters within that scene, that being Teddy and Susie, meet their demise. So I will be giving Phil a 4 in the escape plan. Next up, we have wits. Now I will say that throughout the duration of the first episode, Phil is the most apprehensive to believe that there is actually a physical danger, and though I feel like in most cases it probably would have been more productive to know the danger in front of you, I feel like him being more of a skeptic could have honestly kept him safe if he had stuck with that line of thinking and not gone to the theater. I mean, he even admits to Lily that him and Teddy weren't actually that close to Maddie in the first place, but I will give him some points for trying to do some research, some prior research before going to the theater, but I still will knock some points off for not just sticking to that skepticism and taking what Teddy and Lily are saying at face value. So to be honest, I'm going to give Phil a 5 in wits. Next up, we have Teddy. So Teddy, actually, like the other kids I have on this list, does experience a one-on-one situation with Pennywise. When Pennywise comes at him when he is at home in his room, I truly feel like Teddy should have taken this as a sign that he did not need to do any further exploration, especially with Lily. Because if there's one thing I've noticed throughout this series, Lily has actually ended up getting multiple people in sticky situations that, in the case of Maddie, Phil, and Susie, they do not escape. And even so, after experiencing what he did at home in his bedroom, he still agreed to go to the theater with Lily and the rest of the kids. And then when it comes to them being in the theater, like what I said with Phil, he should have also seen seeing Maddie on that screen as a big blaring red flag. But he, like Lily and Phil, were simply just yelling at the screen. So I'm going to be giving Teddy a 2 in the red flag category. Next up, we have escape plan. The first time Teddy is actually attacked by Pennywise, the thing that stops the attack is someone coming in his room to check on him. So I won't be factoring that in because he technically didn't even escape, if that makes sense. And I honestly don't think at that point in time Pennywise was trying to actually kill him. I think he was simply just trying to scare him. So leaving that out and just simply looking at the theater situation, like Phil, he just made an effort to run, and if he had started running a bit faster or possibly in a different direction than the rest of the gang, or if he had done what Lily did and just duck under the seats, he possibly would have been able to escape. So like Phil, I'm going to give him a 4 in the escape plan category. When it comes to wits, I'm actually going to score him a little bit lower than Phil, and the reason I'm doing that is because, like I said, Teddy had a one-on-one experience with Pennywise that Phil didn't, and if he had just taken him being attacked in his room as a warning to possibly what could come, he probably would have made the choice to not go to the theater and therefore not have gotten killed. So I'm going to be giving him a 4 in wits. Next up, we have Rich. Rich and the character Will, who's right after him on this list, are very interesting because the first time they ever run into Pennywise is when they are trying to help Lily and Ronnie. At this point in the series, Pennywise hasn't been speaking to them through the sewers or trying to attack them at all. So until Pennywise actually attacks them, Rich doesn't even have any red flags to grab onto when you really think about it. And even if we go later on in the series, Rich does not get personally attacked by Pennywise. And this is kind of like the trend for Rich. Each time he has faced Pennywise, it has simply been to help his friends, because the second time we see him interact with Pennywise in any way, shape, or form is when he decides to go down to the sewers. So for him, I'll come back to the cemetery scene in the escape plan, but looking at his red flag category, after the cemetery situation happens, I believe that that entire situation should have been a red flag for Rich, that they are actually dealing with something quite paranormal or out of the ordinary here, and that should have probably been enough for him to know that maybe he shouldn't be dabbling with these people, maybe he doesn't need to be friends with these people. And if he had came to that conclusion, then he wouldn't have gone down to the sewers with the rest of the gang when Maddie shows up again. So for that, I am going to give Rich a 6, and the reason I'm scoring him a bit higher than Maddie in the red flag category is because I feel like Rich and Maddie also experience the least amount of red flags, and even though Rich has the cemetery situation, I feel like for him, with the type of person that he is, the cemetery situation really helped to only boost his confidence and not make him pause and take a second and see that they possibly could have been true danger. So actually, I'm going to be giving him a 4, which is just simply 1 under Maddie. Next up, we have escape plan. Looking at both times that Rich has to escape, he's never alone in his escape plan. I think he does a good job the first time when he's riding his bike through the cemetery. The minute that they have to ride off, he takes off and gets to safety. And the second time that they are in danger, when they see that Maddie isn't who he says he is and he's actually Pennywise, like the rest of the kids, Rich takes off and heads to safety. So to be honest, I'm going to give Rich a 7 in the escape plan, even though I feel like he is one of the least informed characters. When it's time to run, he runs. Next up, we have the wits category, and for Rich's wits, honestly, I'm going to also give him a 7. He feels more like a go with the flow type of character more than anything, and I feel like he's also the only character where that type of attitude has saved him in multiple situations. Next up, we have Will. So Will actually ends up having to face Pennywise 4 times, that being the cemetery, in the sewer, when he goes fishing with his father, and when he is at home. And like Rich, in both the cemetery and the sewer, I feel like he's not as informed on what is going on as the other characters. But like what I said with Rich, the cemetery situation should have been a little bit of a red flag for him to know that he possibly should not go down into the cemetery. So I will be taking some points off for that. But even after the cemetery situation, I don't truly feel like I can take points off for the fishing situation or the phone situation, because for the fishing situation, I don't feel like he had any type of precursor, any red flag to warn him that something was about to happen. And for the phone situation, I do not feel like he had any type of warning as to what was about to happen. So I think I will be giving him a 4 like Rich, because he was the most book smart of the group. So I feel like he could have been the one to, really put his foot down and say, hey, we probably shouldn't be doing these things. Even though I do not believe characters like Ronnie or Lily would have listened to him, he could have taken himself out of the situation. So yeah, I'm giving him a 4. When it comes to escape plan in the cemetery, I think he could have done a better job to get away. So I will be taking some points off for that. In the sewer, he runs like everybody else. So I'll be giving him points for that. When he gets attacked in the lake, I think he does his best to fight off Pennywise. His father does eventually come and save him. So if I'm really just looking at him being able to hold his own before someone else came to help him, I'll give him points for that. But also, I do not believe that Pennywise was trying to kill him there. I just simply think he was trying to scare him. And then I'm not going to be giving points or taking points away for the phone situation, because I truly feel like that was going to be a lose-lose for him. So I'll be giving Will an 8. Next up, we have Wits. And Wits overall, looking at all the situations that Will goes through, I think I'm going to give him an 8, which is simply just 1 point above Rich. And the reason I'm doing that is because I feel like Will helps to provide the group with a lot of background information, if that makes sense. Like, for example, in a scene when they're brainstorming as to what they can do to defend themselves against Pennywise, he is the one to suggest to the group that the reason Pennywise keeps coming after them but not killing them is because he wants them to be scared, because it creates these chemicals that possibly Pennywise as a creature likes. So in certain situations like that, where, like I said, he's the most book smart in leading the group, I feel like he could have done a better job at having more self-preservation skills. So that's why he's not getting a 10. So 8. Next up, we have Marge. To be fair, I feel like Marge's true first red flag comes when she gets attacked by Pennywise in the school. Now, Lily does try to kind of warn her or tell her about Pennywise, but at this point in time, Marge is also trying to fit in with the popular girls, and at this point, Lily does not have the best reputation, so I'm not going to necessarily give her points off for not believing Lily, especially when she's not experienced anything from Pennywise at this point. But what I will say is that once she gets attacked, and then that proves to her that Lily is telling the truth, like what I said with Teddy, that one-on-one attack that Pennywise had on her should have been the red flag to let her know that what she's dealing with is a big threat, and she shouldn't have decided to go down into the sewers with the rest of the gang. Unlike Rich and Will, where the attack was less physically harmful, hers practically took her eye out. And so far, out of every attack we have seen in the series, I would argue that hers is the most scarful. I know that might not be really a word, but you understand what I'm saying. And so that should have truly been one that told her, hey, maybe I just need to support my friends from the side, but instead she decides to join them in the fight. And so yeah, I think I'm honestly going to give her a 3 for that. Next up, we have Escape Plan. Now, if we're focusing firstly on the personal attack against Pennywise, I feel like the only reason she escaped with having an eye is because Lily intervened, but I'm not going to take too too many points off for that because I think I can take a safe guess and say that none of us would have reacted well in that situation. So looking next at the sewer situation, like everybody else, I think she does a good job in sticking with the group and escaping and running when it was time to run. But in the last situation, when her, Ronnie, and Lily find out that practically everyone within their grade level has been taken by Pennywise, she actively puts herself in danger and she actually almost gets eaten by Pennywise. The only thing that saves her is the fact Halloran enters Pennywise's mind. And while, yes, they end up saving the entire town, we're simply just looking at their survival instincts, and I just do not think it was smart on their part to put themselves in danger, especially after the sewer situation. To be honest, I feel like after each of their personal attacks, because they survived, most of these kids felt emboldened or had like a bit more confidence, not cockiness, but confidence when it came to facing Pennywise. And I'm not going to fault them for that, they're children, but to put yourself in danger up against a monster that has already taken a few lives, it's just not smart, especially when you're trying to survive. So overall, looking at each of the situations where she's had to escape Pennywise, I'm going to give Marge a 5. When it comes to wits, like Rich, I'm going to give her a 7. I feel like she is a team player and follows the group most of the time. And she just simply seems to like try to help when she can. So yeah, 7. Next up, we have Ronnie. Ronnie, like Lily, I believe, has to end up facing the wrath of Pennywise the most. The few situations we have to look at for her is she also heard whispering in the sewers. She was there the night at the theater. She gets personally attacked by Pennywise. She was there when they went into the sewers, and she was also there at the end to help save the kids. And so if we're looking at all the red flags leading up to all of these situations, I feel like the driving force honestly behind Ronnie putting herself into this dangerous situations is trying to save her dad. And I also feel like this definitely contributed to her ignoring, not even not noticing, but truly ignoring a lot of red flags, because I feel like especially after the theater situation, even though she was trapped in the room and didn't see majority of what went on in the theater, when all those kids died that night, she should have taken that as a sign to never try to tussle with Pennywise again. But again, I feel like her dad's life being on the line definitely made her ignore a lot of red flags. So for the red flag category, I will say yes, she is brave, but she ignored a lot of the red flags. I am going to give her a 2. Next up, we have escape plan. I'm actually going to rank Ronnie high in the escape plan category, especially when we look at how she escapes her one-on-one with Pennywise. The girl literally bites the umbilical cord attached to her by Pennywise to get out of the personal situation she was in. And overall, throughout the entire show, she does not back down during any of the situations where Pennywise is attacking them. So for the escape category, I think I am going to give her a 9. Next up, we have wits. Like Will, I'm going to give her an 8, though I think it was not smart of her to put herself in some of the situations that she could have avoided. I think while Will is book smart, I feel like Ronnie is more street smart. So yeah, I'm going to give her an 8. Last but not least, we have Lily. When it comes to the red flag category, honestly, I am going to give Lily a 1, and the reason I'm giving her the lowest score is because I feel like Lily, out of every single kid on this list, is the catalyst for every situation that all the other kids end up getting into besides Maddie. I feel like him being missing for 4 months and all of a sudden showing up and whispering her through her sewer pipes should have been a sign that he is not there. On top of that, she was actually in the theater when Maddie appeared on screen and he distributed that awful flying baby to everyone. So she saw that. So she should have known he was dead more than anyone. So experiencing that should have been one of her biggest red flags when out of nowhere Maddie shows up in the tent and tells them that they need to go back down to the sewer because some of the kids survived, and also the red flags of seeing the ghost children in the cemetery to know that the Maddie coming to them to tell them that Phil had survived was not the actual Maddie. And side note, if you're wondering why I didn't take any points off for the other kids seeing the ghost children in the graveyard, it's not necessarily confirmed that the rest of the kids who were in the graveyard with Lily actually knew who Phil and Teddy and Susie were. In the show, it is shown to us that Lily knows who they are, so that's why I didn't take any points off for the other kids. So for all of that, I'm going to just give her a 1. When it comes to the escape plan, I will give her some props for ducking down under the seats in the theater. She and Susie are the only two to do this, and even though Susie ends up getting eaten, I feel like her ducking down is one of the only reasons she was able to escape. When it comes to her one-on-one with Pennywise, like I've said with the other kids, I do not think his intentions during this scene was to actually kill her. I think he was simply trying to scare her and also make her look crazy so she got taken back to Juniper Hill. So for that, I'm honestly not even going to factor that into my points. But I will be taking points off for the sewer situation because when the rest of the group runs, Homegirl trips and gets separated from the group, and the only reason she survived is because Daniel accidentally dropped the dagger. If he hadn't, she would have been eaten by Pennywise right there at that moment. As well as in the graveyard, I will give her points for biking through the graveyard like the rest of the kids. I feel like they all do a good job escaping the graveyard, but overall, honestly, for the escape plan category, I think I'm going to give her a 9 because, like I mentioned earlier, her and Ronnie are the ones that get attacked the most by Pennywise, and they are still alive, unlike some people we started the season with, so she gets a 9. Lastly, we have her wit category. When looking at Lily's wits, I think I'm going to give her a 7.5. When they are in these situations where they have to escape, I think she is very proactive. There are, of course, times like with other characters where the only thing that gets her out of the situations is third hand intervening factors. But like I said, her wits are what saves her over the course of the season, so 7.5. Now I am going to calculate everyone's final scores and I will be right back with you. Okay, hi everyone. So my phone is about to die, so I'm going to do this kind of quickly, going from the bottom and making our way to the top. So the person with the least amount of survival skills to the person with the most amount of survival skills. We have Teddy with 10 points, Phil with 12 points, Maddie with 14 points, Marge with 15 points, Lily with 17.5 points, Rich with 18 points, Ronnie with 19 points, and Will with 20 points. Thank you so much for watching. If you would have given these kids a different score in any of the categories, please let me know in the comment section. Again, thank you. Like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more of me. I hope you have a good weekend, weekday, weeknight, and bye!